I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Hey, take a breath.
Oh, man. Oh, my God.
At the beginning of the movie, we see two women, Hunter and Becky, stranded on a gigantic 2,000-meter high tower. They desperately try to call for help, but the altitude prevents their phones from getting any signal. Even worse, the tower is located in the middle of a vast desert, making it nearly impossible for anyone to notice them. To add to their misery, vultures begin circling and attacking them. If either of them drifts off to sleep, they could easily slip and fall to their deaths. The story then flashes back to an earlier time when Becky, her boyfriend Dan, and her best friend Hunter are out rock climbing together. The trio seems to be enjoying the adventure until Dan slips his hand into a small hole in the cliff for balance. Out of nowhere, a bird bursts out, startling him and causing him to lose his grip. He ends up tangled in the rope and struggles desperately to swing back toward the rock, but his efforts fail. Becky and Hunter try frantically to pull him up, but the rope suddenly snaps, sending Dan falling to his death. The film then moves forward to 51 weeks later. Becky is still traumatized by Dan's tragic fall. She's deeply depressed and has turned to heavy drinking to numb her pain. Her father, James, worries about her and encourages her to start living again, but she ignores his advice. One night, overwhelmed by grief, Becky contemplates ending her life by overdosing on medication. Just before she goes through with it, she receives a call from Hunter, someone she hasn't spoken to in a long time. The next day, Hunter shows up to visit Becky and shares her plan to climb the B67 TV tower. She invites Becky to join her, saying it'll reignite the spark of adventure they used to share. At first, Becky refuses, still haunted by fear and guilt. But the following morning, as she looks through old memories of her and Dan, she decides to do it for him. Soon, the two set off for the tower. During the trip, Becky scrolls through old photos of Hunter on her phone and notices one picture where a mysterious man's hand is seen on Hunter's waist. Curious, she asks Hunter who the man is, but Hunter avoids answering. At that moment, Becky's father calls, but she ignores the call. After a long drive, they stop at a small motel for the night. During dinner, Becky learns that Hunter has become a travel vlogger, earning enough money to explore new places. As they eat, they notice the enormous TV tower in the distance, said to be the fourth tallest structure in the entire United States. The next morning, they continue their journey. Hunter drives while recording her vlog, telling her viewers about the massive 2,000-foot tower. Distracted by her filming, she nearly crashes into a passing truck but quickly regains control. Eventually, they reach the tower site, only to find the entrance fenced off with warning signs. Ignoring the danger, they leave their car and start walking across the barren desert terrain. Along the way, they come across vultures feeding on a dead animal, which Hunter records for her vlog and uploads online. The post quickly racks up hundreds of likes. Moments later, they arrive at the base of the tower, and Hunter resumes filming enthusiastically. Becky, however, freezes in fear as painful memories flood back. She thinks about quitting the climb altogether, but Hunter convinces her to confront her fear and keep going. Hunter clips her safety rope to Becky's and begins climbing the inner ladder of the tower. The whole structure looks ancient and corroded, with rusty bars and loose bolts rattling as they move. As Becky follows her up, one of the ladder's metal rods suddenly snaps, sending a jolt of fear through her. Shaken but determined, she steadies herself and keeps climbing. After a while, they reach the halfway mark, where the distant city below looks like a tiny toy set. They stop for a short rest, sip some water, and then continue their ascent. By the time they've climbed about 1,800 feet, only 200 feet remain to the top, but the last section is on the outer ladder of the tower. The wind is fierce, and the metal groans with every step. Becky grows more nervous, pleading with Hunter to turn back, but Hunter insists they press on. The two start scaling the outer ladder, which looks far more unstable than the one inside. Soon, they encounter large satellite discs blocking their path and are forced to edge around them carefully. Hunter crosses first with ease and helps Becky follow. As they climb higher, the gusts strengthen, making Becky tremble. Noticing this, Hunter mischievously shakes the ladder to tease her, causing one of the bolts to loosen and drop. Luckily, the ladder holds firm, and they keep moving until they finally reach the summit. Another bolt falls right before they make it to the top, but they ignore it and celebrate their success. Once at the peak, they start taking pictures and videos. Hunter, never satisfied, brings out her drone to get a more dramatic view. After capturing some shots, she gives the drone's controller to Becky and daringly hangs off the tower's edge, hoping for a viral moment. When she climbs back up, she encourages Becky to do the same. Terrified, Becky refuses, but Hunter convinces her that it's the only way she'll overcome her fear. Trusting her friend, Becky grabs Hunter's hand and slowly lowers herself over the edge while Hunter snaps selfies. After a tense moment, Hunter pulls her back up before her grip slips. The two share an emotional scene as Becky releases Dan's ashes into the wind, bidding him a final goodbye. Now ready to descend, they fasten their harnesses, and Becky goes first. But disaster strikes, the ladder collapses beneath her, and she plunges downward. Hunter manages to grab the rope just in time, pulling Becky back up to safety. Both burst into hysterical laughter, half in relief and half in shock. But their joy fades when they realize the ladder is completely gone. Panic sets in, they check their phones, but there's still no service. Worse, their backpack holding all their water and supplies has fallen onto a dish far below. Searching through what's left, they find a pair of binoculars and a flare gun, but neither can help them. Becky starts to break down, but Hunter reassures her that the crash of the ladder might have been heard by someone nearby and that they should wait for rescue. While thinking of solutions, Hunter notices a deep gash on Becky's leg from her earlier fall. She quickly tears off part of her shirt and wraps it tightly around the wound to stop the bleeding. Hours later, as they rest, Becky begins questioning Hunter about her vlogging career. Hunter admits she started because of Dan raising suspicion in Becky's mind. Later that evening, Hunter checks her phone and remembers how her earlier animal post went online. She figures there might be a weak signal at a lower height. She types out a help message, ties her phone to the end of the rope, and lowers it down in hopes the post will upload, but nothing happens. Still, convinced there's a signal near the base, they decide to drop the phone entirely. Hunter places her phone inside her shoe, patting it with her socks and push-up bra for protection, then tosses it off the tower. As they wait, Becky notices a small tattoo on Hunter's foot that reads 143. The same code Dan used to say, "I love you." The realization hits her hard. Moments later, Hunter spots a man walking his dog near the base of the tower. The two begin screaming for help, but their voices don't reach him. When the man leaves, they notice Hunter's phone smashed on the ground, destroyed on impact. In desperation, Becky throws down their remaining shoes to grab his attention, but it's useless. No one hears them. Becky decides to fire the flare gun for help, but Hunter quickly stops her, explaining that it won't be visible in broad daylight. Soon after, they spot another man below who seems to have arrived with a group for a party. Realizing this could be their chance, they agree to wait until nightfall before using the flare so it'll be easier to see. When darkness finally comes, Becky aims the flare gun toward the sky and fires. Luckily, the men below notice the light and see the two girls frantically waving from above. The pair's faces light up with hope as they watch the men approach Hunter's car, but their excitement turns into despair when, instead of helping, the men steal the car and drive off, leaving them stranded again. Shattered by this betrayal, the girls desperately think of a new plan. Later that evening, Becky questions Hunter about the tattoo on her foot. After a pause, Hunter confesses that she had been secretly involved with Dan for 6 months. She tearfully apologizes for falling in love with Becky's boyfriend, saying that Dan treated her differently, he actually listened to her when no one else did. But she insists she loved Becky more and ended the affair before Dan's death. Heartbroken and furious, Becky realizes that both her best friend and her partner had deceived her. The following morning, Becky's phone alarm rings, signaling that an entire day has passed since they threw Hunter's phone from the tower. With thirst becoming unbearable, Hunter volunteers to climb down to the dish and retrieve their fallen bag. She ties one end of the rope to the tower and secures the other around herself before beginning her descent. She climbs carefully, but still can't reach the disc. With no other choice, Hunter unhooks her harness, hangs by one arm, and swings toward the dish. After several tries, she manages to grab the bag, drinks a little water, and attaches it to the rope using her selfie stick. Then she clings onto it as Becky pulls her up. Just as Hunter nears the top, her grip slips and she falls. Becky gasps in horror but looks down to see Hunter still holding onto the rope with one hand and the bag with the other. Injured but alive, Hunter clutches on tightly while Becky uses all her strength to haul her up again. Afterward, Becky writes a desperate help note and tapes it to their drone, hoping to fly it to the nearest motel. But the drone's battery dies midway, forcing them to bring it back. They try again, but it still doesn't get far. Exhausted and defeated, they slump against the metal railings as night falls. That night, Becky dreams that vultures are tearing into Hunter's corpse. She jolts awake in terror, relieved it was only a nightmare. When morning comes, she realizes she can recharge the drone using the beacon lights on the tower. Determined, Becky climbs up a narrow pole and plugs in the drone's cable. But the socket is loose, she must hold it in place manually. Under the blistering sun and constant harassment from circling vultures, she endures the pain and heat. During the struggle, she accidentally drops their bag, watching helplessly as it tumbles to the ground far below. Once the drone is finally charged, she descends and launches it again toward the motel. But just as it's about to reach the highway, a truck smashes into it, completely destroying their last hope. Both girls break down in despair, realizing there's no other way out. A storm hits later that night, making survival even harder. Becky is drained and wants to sleep, but Hunter warns her to stay awake if she falls asleep. The vultures could attack. Becky asks Hunter for her shoe so she can throw her phone down again. But Hunter hesitates, saying she can't, her shoes are already down on the dish. At that moment, the truth is revealed. Hunter didn't survive the earlier fall. She never made it back up. Becky has been hallucinating her friend's presence all along. Hunter's body still lies lifeless on the dish below. Becky had only managed to pull up the bag, not her friend. That night, Becky endures the storm alone and later records a final message for her father, telling him how much she wants to come home. Somewhere far away, James sits anxiously, clearly worried about his daughter's disappearance. By the next day, Becky is weak and defenseless. A vulture swoops down and starts pecking at her wounds. Gathering her last bit of strength, she grabs the bird and smashes its head against the steel, killing it. Starving, she eats its meat to stay alive. With a bit of energy restored, Becky secures herself with a rope and jumps down to the disc where Hunter's body rests. There, she places her phone inside Hunter's shoe, slips the shoe into Hunter's body, and throws it down hoping the message will finally reach someone. Later that night, James receives a notification and immediately calls 911. He rushes to the site where rescue teams are retrieving a body from the base of the tower. Believing it's Becky, James breaks down in tears until he sees his daughter alive. The two embrace tightly, overwhelmed with relief. Father and daughter finally reunite in an emotional, heartfelt ending.